Hello, good afternoon, all of you. Today, the drug that we are going to take, the medicine that we are going to discuss today is Pulsatilla. It's a very, very common remedy in our homeopathic practice and especially pediatric practice. I'm making a habit to tell you before which drug we are discussing so you can go through the drugs and ask me questions when we are live. Okay, so what is Pulsatilla child? How will you understand a Pulsatilla child in your clinic? You all know about Pulsatilla, that they're mild, yielding, soft spoken, sweet little girl who like to play with the dolls, mama's darling, they'll help mama in their home, and how they are. When they come to the clinic, they are shy and timid or clinging to the mother. They are holding hand of the mother. There is a rubric: clinging, grasp at others, clinging, holding the hand of the mother, child always the clinging, mother child clings to. Cling doesn't mean the child has to physically cling. The cling means that the child wants mother all the time. So we know that, but I have, in my practice, there are some rubrics in Pulsatilla which we are not explored that. So there is one thing that I have discussed, that they're mild, timid, yielding, coming, holding the mother's hand. But when you ask the question to a Pulsatilla child, so I'll tell you 3 important tips of Pulsatilla child. Either they don't want to answer, so answering aversion to answer, or they will answer in monosyllables. Monosyllables is in one word. What do you have? Cold. So they will not really form a sentence. It is not there in answering, refusing to, like Nux vomica or other remedies. It's aversion. Why? Because of that timidity, that shyness, they wanted to be with the mother. So it is either they will not answer, or they will answer in monosyllables, in one words, or they answering nodding by is single Pulsatilla. Nodding by, what is nodding by? For example, you ask the child, do you have cold? And the child says, खांसी भी आत होती है, body ache है, what is your name? So where the child has to actually answer the question, the child doesn't answer. But where they can answer by nodding, they answer by nodding. So answering, nodding by. But I will give you a very, very big word of caution over here, because a lot of children nods and every child is not Pulsatilla. So if I see only answering, nodding by and I give Pulsatilla, it really happens. I always say form a totality. If you see a child whispering, you don't end up giving silica, right? So in the same way, if you see a child nodding, you don't end up giving Pulsatilla directly. One more thing is that I have seen in Pulsatilla child is ro ke answer karte hain. I have seen lot of videos of Pulsatilla, but nobody has told about this. I had a case of asthma, and that child से कुछ भी पूछो ना तो रो के ऐसे हो रहा है, से रो क्यों रहे हो? तो weeping answering question when is also single Pulsatilla. It is a very, very important tip. जैसे parents बोलते ठीक से बोलो ना, रो के क्यों बोल रहे हो? So weeping answering questions when is Pulsatilla. One more important tip is, parents come and tell that the child is a weeping baby, har baat pe rone baith jati hai, the child really cries a lot, and she has a tendency to vomit. Ro ke, you must have seen a lot of patients, but you may not know this rubric. Child bahut roti hai and ro ke vomit kar deti hai. That is the complaint that parents come to. So there is a tendency, weeping tendency, children in vomiting with easy, and it is single Pulsatilla. I have given in so many patients of mine, and they have really responded when bacha ro ke, they have a tendency to vomit. There is no GI infection or there is no other infection, but aadat hai, आदत है, बहुत रोने बैठ जाएगी, कुछ भी हुआ, and then she ends up with vomiting. That is, so there is this rubric, vomiting with easy. Okay. So that weeping tendency is there in Pulsatilla, weeping children in, weeping telling their sickness when. There is 2 more rubric: weeping disturbed at work when, weeping interruption from. These are single rubrics of Pulsatilla. I'll give you an example. My daughter used to say that there is a child in the school, if we slightly disturb him or whatever, she starts crying and going to the teacher and she thinks she is disturbed. We have called her a complaint baby or a weep baby. These kind of girls are usually pulsatilla. Usually, most of the time they are pulsatilla. So they have a tendency to weep, desire to weep, weeping easily, weeping refused when anything, weeping telling their sickness, or weep when the adult has lot of diseases and they have tried various doctors and have lost hope. So there is a rubric: discourage praying with, or discourage sympathy with desire to, they want that consolation and sympathy. There is a very important rubric of pulsatilla, which is affection absorbs. Absorbs is like, there is a sponge. Our teachers used to tell us, like a sponge, usko kitna bhi pani de do, the sponge absorbs. In the same way, the pulsatilla is in the rubric affection absorb. They really want lot of affection. It is in the rubric desire to be caressed. And how will you see these patients in clinic? You see the rubrics. The mother said, I'm constantly doing this to the child, I'm constantly caressing. Or during the OPD also, you'll see the child comes to the mother, hugs the mother and kisses the mother, and then you ask mother, does she oftenly do that? She says yes, she really likes hugging and kissing, and then she tells us, please mama, hug me, kiss me. So they like that kind of caressing, desires to be caressed, desire to be slowly, agar they want, you can take it in two senses. एक तो actual literal meaning, for example, the child is sick and the child wants to be carried slowly, gradually from one place to another. And the other thing is, in the disease also, they want that doctor, they should be suppose बच्चे पूछेंगे कि कड़वी मेडिसिन तो नहीं है, इंजेक्शन तो नहीं देंगे, बड़ी दवाई तो नहीं है, मुझे छोटी छोटी चाहिए, मैं नहीं खा पाती हूँ. So they are very delicate darlings. They ठीक से डॉक्टर भर तो नहीं जाएगा, एग्रीवेट नहीं होना चाहिए, I cannot tolerate that. So they want to be carried slowly. Adults will say, even an adult can say, I cannot take such big pills, and please give me mild medicine. No, another version could be that take your time, doctor, I am not in a hurry, it may take a year, I may continue the medicine, but aggravation nahi hona chahiye, आराम से ठीक होना चाहिए. So that caressing, that carrot desire to be slowly, के ये वो है. In fever, now how yes, not treated harshly. So in fever, how the child would react, there is a lot of anxiety for fever. There are two important rubric: anxiety, fever, prodrome off. So when the child or an adult started getting symptoms, it is happening nowadays कि थोड़ा सा भी symptom आया body ache, you may not have fever, but you get into that anxiety of fever. That is also single pulsatilla. They are very anxious during fever. They likes to be carried and caressed, we all know, but there is also one rubric, company aversion to heat during, and that also has pulsatilla. So see the rubrics that you have in pulsatilla related to fever and heat. Okay, they become dull during fever, they want light, they want their mothers to be around, they want that love and caress of the mother. There is weeping fever during weeping, whimpering. Whimpering is thunthunana, we say it in Hindi, like they're not actually weeping, but that kind of mood, dhire 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 kar rahe hain. So the pulsatilla child wants lot of love. There is an affection absorbs. There is a rubric in complete repertory of avarice, wants all for himself. Sab khud ke liye chahiye, all the love and affection they want. So if there is a smaller child, they are very manipulative, The parents will always tell you, he knows or she knows how to get the things done. If they want a toy and the mother is not giving, what they will do is they will go to the mother and say, the mama, you don't love me or what. So the way they demand, the way it is not in temper tantrums. So the way they say, you feel pity. Pulsatilla likes to be pitied. Complaining children, pitiful. sympathy desire for that pity, वो तरस उनको अच्छा लगता है, वो complain, एक rubric है ना, complaining children pitiful ear with complaints pain of something like that with single pulsatilla. So they, like the way we have studied in Natromute, that they hate to be pitied. They just don't like to be pitied. On the contrary, Pulsatilla likes to be pitied. Ki bichari, she's having stomach pain, and they will complain in such a way. Like for example, arsenic or chamomilla, जब ये बच्चे complain करते हैं तो you get irritated. पर जब Pulsatilla complain करता है तो you feel pity, आपको तरस आता है उस बच्चे पे, कि अरे यार बेचारी को इतना fever है. Things like that. Okay, so Pulsatilla has lot of morning anxiety. They have lot of anxiety business about. अब business क्या हो सकता है? Business can be the work, the profession that we are doing, or the business can be your household duties like जो खाना बनाना, कपड़े धोना, that can be your business. Or in children, it can be your studies. So जो बच्चे सुबह उठ के they get tense, I have not done the homework, what will happen, so anxiety business about in morning, cares full of domestic affairs about in morning. So if there is a lady सुबह उठते ही she start worrying कि अभी ये करना है, बर्तन बाकी हैं, or whatever her domestic duties are, they start worrying about it. So there are some rubrics, I'll just read it out. Morning grief when business thinking of, morning discouraged, morning care worry full of domestic affairs about, anxiety business about morning. One more thing about Pulsatilla is I have seen in a lot of children fear women of men in and fear men of women in. For example, a Pulsatilla, it is in adults also. Pulsatilla child, if it's a girl child, the mother will say that she's not comfortable with, male members in the house and she wants me only, or the ladies of the house she is okay with. Why this is? Because male, not per se male, maybe it depends who is the more milder one in the house. For example, mothers are usually very mild and will take care of the family. If it is opposite, that the mother is strict and the father is the one who caresses and loves the child and pampers them, then probably it could be for the father. So because men are harsh or they scold, so they, in female children, they have aversion to men in women. So this both ways is there in Pulsatilla, aversion women to men in and aversion men to women in. One more important thing over here is they has aversion to opposite sex. There is a rubric, very delusion, women are evil and will injure his soul. So men who, because of the background behind this rubric is that they are very religious people and they consider these sexual activities and interaction and all that bad because it is religiously bad. So they start feeling that the women in their life are not good for their soul, for their purity, and then they feel ki, and they have aversion to women because they feel that it's injurious to their soul, injurious to their well-being, and to be nice, that is because of their religious thoughts, we can say. Okay, so what else? There is one more important rubric of Pulsatilla is delusion, head heavy, his own head seemed. You can find this rubrics. I am telling you, वैसे तो there are 1254 rubrics of Pulsatilla. Pulsatilla can come to you with different shades, but I am discussing those rubrics that I have applied in my practice and I have seen in my practice, very, very often. So this has only 5 or 6 remedies. So head heavy, his own head seemed. What does this mean? It means, कि सर भारी लग रहा है. People come with cold and cough. It can be direct, और यार मेरे सर पे बहुत भार है, मेरे सर पे ऐसा लग रहा है 50 किलो का पत्थर रखा हुआ है, या things like that. So when this version comes, there are only 3, 4, 5 drugs and you can easily differentiate whether it's Bryonia or Pulsatilla. So this is also a very important symptom of Pulsatilla. Pulsatilla is, there is a lot of submissiveness. There is a rubric called servile. Servile is they can submit to whatever you are saying. They can behave like a servant to you. She will do anything for her loved ones. Pulsatilla का जो focus है सारा family, children, but Pulsatilla को आप प्यार देते रहो, दुलार देते रहो, then the Pulsatilla is happy. But Pulsatilla का demand इतना ज़्यादा है, no matter how much you are giving, they always feel that you are not loved. They are alone in the world. What version will come is, यार मेरा तो कोई नहीं है, आई डोंट हैव फ्रेंड्स, मम्मा पापा भी मेरे को इतना प्यार नहीं करते, बल्कि फैक्ट ऐसा नहीं होता. इट इज ऑल इन डिल्यूजन. बिलोंग टू एनीबडी ही डज नॉट. जैसे बिलोंग मतलब क्या कि यू से कि there is nobody on whom I can go back to or fall back to. So I do not belong to anybody. I feel alone, I feel left out, and then उनको खूब सारा consolation करो. But कई बार ये बहुत ज़्यादा होता है. I have few cases of migraine where the lady had this feeling of being alone and do not belong, and nobody cares for her, and while telling all her complaints, she was crying while telling कि मेरे को इतना दर्द होता है, and there is nobody who can really understand what I'm going through, and I feel so lonely, and I miss my mother at that time. So usually such people miss their mother or the person who's always there to caress them, to love them, to give them that consolation. So they miss such people in their life, and then they weep. And if she said, at least husband should come and say, I understand that you have this pain. I understand, that kind of consolation, that kind of, belongingness, they keep wanting. Sometimes husband say, karta hu yaar, but I'm also busy. That understanding is not there in Pulsatilla, though they will care for everybody and be nice and yielding and submissive, but Pulsatilla की ये demand बहुत ज़्यादा रहती है, of that love, even an adult, even in child, Pulsatilla children are very, very sweet children, even adults, but there is a lot of deceitfulness and manipulation in Pulsatilla. They are very, very manipulative. If you try to see behind or talk to the family members, then you will understand the manipulativeness of Pulsatilla, the deceitfulness of Pulsatilla. Pulsatilla is also there in bargaining. Bargaining there are 5 remedies in bargaining. I'll just go through it. बट हर का बार्गेनिंग अलग है. बार्गेनिंग वो क्यों करता है? प्यार पे बार्गेनिंग करता है. ऑफ दैट लव द चाइल्ड विल बार्गेन और एन अडल्ट विल बार्गेन. दिल से आई एम लाइक योर सिस्टर, डोंट चार्ज दिस मच. तो वो लव को फोर फ्रंट में रख के बार्गेन करेंगे. लाइक सल्फर मनी को लेके करेगा, या ब्रायन या मनी को लेके करता है. तो पल्साटिला लव को लेके, लव को आगे रख के they will bargain. Why are you charging? I'm like your sister. You are like my daughter. You should not charge so much from people who are so close to. बल्कि आप उनसे इतना close होगे भी नहीं. You will be wondering whether I'm really close to that person. So, and they will bargain on love. Okay. Anything else? Okay. Now we'll take the questions if anybody has. Pulsatilla and phosphorus will come very, very close sometimes because the phosphorus is also, but the basic difference between Pulsatilla and phosphorus is phosphorus has affection and they will return that affection. Pulsatilla ko sab khud ke liye chahiye. If they are very nice to the little ones, but agar unko laga ki mother is not loving me the way the mother is loving the other child, then the Pulsatilla doesn't like it, and the Pulsatilla would put their font emotional blackmailing करके एक रूपरेख है कि they will blackmail their parents. You don't love me or what? Are you not wanting me to be happy? Are you not happy if I'll be happy? Things like that. जो उनका तरीका. Pulsatilla isn't feigning sick. Why they feign sick? Because they want that love and caress when they are sick. I'm recently treating a lady which has a big parotid gland swelling. It's like a tumor over here, such big. And I asked her, how do you feel? There was a long case. She told me so many. And in the end, when I asked her, what do you feel? She said, I'll tell you very honestly, I've started I started feeling okay with it. I said, why? So, because of this gland, there is a lot of love that I'm getting. There's a lot of attention that I'm getting from my husband. I have started enjoying it, So, though she has, but still it is feigning sick. Because why they are feigning sick? Because they want that love and affection, from the people around. Affection absorbs. Okay. So I told you some basic rubrics. There is also one rubric: anxiety, tremulous, motion aggravates, rest ameliorates. Anxiety is, we all know, where there is a fear of unknown. Tremulous, where you are having this tremors. So when the pulsatilla adult or a child will have anxiety, or they're shivering, or they're having tremors because of it, it is a direct rubric: motion aggravates and rest ameliorates. Open air ameliorates. We all know of pulsatilla. Pulsatilla physical motion, ओपन एयर अमेलियोरेशन भी है, और ओपन एयर का अदर सेंस भी है. ओपन एयर इन द सेंस व्हेन देयर इज नो बाउंडेशन और रिस्ट्रिक्शन और फ्री एनवायरनमेंट है ना, देयर पल्साटिला लाइक्स. पल्साटिला इज वेरी सेंसिटिव टू रूडनेस, हार्शनेस. पल्साटिला बच्चा भी होगा और पेरेंट्स डांट रहे हैं ना, तो द पल्साटिला चाइल्ड, मामा प्लीज प्यार से बोलो ना, डांटो मत, प्यार से डांटो ना, थिंग्स लाइक दैट, बिकॉज दे डोंट लाइक दैट हार्श एटमॉस्फेयर और दैट हार्शनेस ऑफ पेरेंट्स. सो दे वांट दैट करेसिंग, एंड बहुत ज़्यादा उनका डिमांड रहता है करेसिंग के लिए. सो डांटो भी, पर प्यार से डांटो. ओके, आई जस्ट सी. सो जो चीज़ चाहिए उन्हीं से प्रॉब्लम होती है, कि अगर एलिमेंट्स फ्रॉम रूडनेस है या एलिमेंट्स फ्रॉम निगलेक्टेड बीइंग है, और यही उनकी फीलिंग्स होती हैं कि डिल्यूजन, दे आर निगलेक्टेड, दे आर लेफ्ट आउट, दे डू नॉट बिलोंग टू एनीबडी. पल्साटिला की लाइफ, आई टोल्ड यू ना, दे हाउस, दे फ्रेंड्स एंड दे फैमिली, दैट इज देयर लाइफ. एंड दैट, so you will find lot of rubrics about domestic affairs worry in pulsatilla. And I told you very characteristically that pulsatilla has fever. I had a case where the child was not responding, and the child was getting fever again and again. And I asked mother, is there anything that we are missing? And the mother said, whenever she's about to fall sick, one night before she's sleepless, so we know that the child is going to fall sick. So I searched in the repertory and I found out sleeplessness prodrome as a. Prodrome is a phase where you are not fallen sick, but you have that phase that you know that you can fall sick. So that is called prodrome. So that child, I gave China 30 on that symptom only, because with the totality I had given 4, 5, 6 remedies, and the child didn't responded. And the child responded beautifully. That fever and the subsequent things, the child never had frequent attacks of fever. In the same way, anxiety fever prodrome of during its pulsatilla. Okay. What else? So what you can do is read pulsatilla from various books, and in search window you can go to pulsatilla and see all the rubrics that are covered by pulsatilla. There are many rubrics, but there are some rubrics that we easily see in our practice. Like I told you, that they answer by weeping, or by nodding, or the mother says ki roti bahut hai, and then she ends up with vomiting, that I told you in the start of the video. That is very, very important of pulsatilla, that clingingness, that want of affection, complaining, pitiful, ro ke complain karte hain bacche. Delusion, appreciated she is not, unko koi appreciate nahi kar raha hai. Okay, what is coquettish too much? Coquettish is something where you dress up like that way, or do something in which you feel attractive. It is a slight flirtatiousness. So in children also, they are all well dressed and they would behave. You may not see that sexual angle in children, but the way they talk, the way they dress up, then we take coquettish too much children in pulsatilla. Anxiety fever prodrome is where you get, suppose you start getting body ache and then you start getting anxious, कि अरे fever ना हो जाए, fever ना हो जाए. That is anxiety fever prodrome. In that prodrome of fever, you have anxiety. See, I don't prescribe or relate कि pulsatilla puberty पे ऐसी होगी, बच्चे ऐसे होंगे. It is a basic general theme of pulsatilla that we are discussing here. So आप mild imagine करो, so they will have love for animals, love for pets, they will like to be in their home and very attached to their mother. They are very dependent people. Even an adult, they will always fall back if they're sick. They would like to talk to their mothers, and even if physically not present, they would cling to mother, cling mentally. Are you understanding what I'm trying to say? So it's not that if I'm an adult and I'm sick and I have a headache, I feel mother should be here, and I really miss her when I'm not well, or I call my mother and talk to her. So this is also clinging mother too. Are you understanding? Okay. So in desires, I'm just going through whether I have not missed anything. Pulsatilla has many desires, unattainable things for, indefinite, too many desires the Pulsatilla child has. So they want it to be fulfilled. Okay. Is there in synthetic repertory anxiety fever during prodrome of effeminate also has only semen drugs. It's also very, so someone asked me how will be Pulsatilla male. So a male having a little female characters, so they will do hand like this or move their face like this, and you said, why he's behaving like a girl. I had a not teenage, he was almost 20, 24 boy, and he was in a software engineer, and the way he used to talk, it was so girly, doctor, I have this, I have this cold, and then I felt as if I'm going to fall sick, and I did hot water. That is the way that boy was talking, that young 22, 24-year boy was talking. And in that case, I took effeminate as a rubric, and I had prescribed, I think, platina to that man, because effeminate is also covered by platina. Okay. And so the fears are also like that, the fear of dark or alone of being. They always wanted to be in company, fear of forsaken of being in children in, कि mama papa chale to nahi jayenge. These children have fear of going to school. When the parents are going, they're usually crying. There is a rubric of fear offended of being. Offenders hurt, people who get easily hurt. So that fear is also there in Pulsatilla. There are only two remedies in a rubric. You can write this rubric: fear separation of parents from. Yes, Bobby darling, effeminate is the right example of. So fear separation of, उनको separation का बहुत डर होता है, जिसपे वो dependent हैं, जिससे उनको caressing मिल रही है, affection मिल रहा है. So there are three direct rubrics which we normally don't use. So fear separation of children from, that a parent will have a fear कि यार बच्चे अब चले जाएंगे, जो बच्चे 12th के बाद बाहर पढ़ने जाते हैं, so the parents say अब बच्चे चले जाएंगे, हम अकेले रह जाएंगे, अब क्या है, things like that. So in the same way, fear separation of parents from, so the child can also fear, तभी मैंने बोला children who newly start going to school, Pulsatilla I have given to so many children over there. And fear separation of husband from. Why? Because they want that. They cannot. The basic of Pulsatilla is that caressing and affection and लाड़ प्यार से करना. हार्शनेस नहीं उनको अच्छी लगती. और इसके लिए वो फेनिंग सिक भी कर सकते हैं, फ्लैटरिंग भी कर सकते हैं. देयर इज अ रूब्रिक फ्लैटरिंग seducing behavior in children. I had a child, वो आके used to praise me so much, doctor, you're looking very pretty today. Doctor, this white suit suits you a lot. You look very beautiful. What is this? This is flattering, seducing behavior in children, unnecessarily flattery towards anybody. It can be doctor. I have seen this once. I had gone, to pick up my daughter. She was in first, and there were some 5-10 children. They were hugging and kissing the teacher, and teacher, you're looking very pretty. Teacher, okay, thank you. Teacher, you eat from my tiffin. what is this? This is flattery, seducing behavior in children. Why they do this? Because they also want to be get flattered. Flattered, desire to be, gives everything when flattered. मतलब पलसाटला बच्चे को आप थोड़ा चढ़ा दो, थोड़ा सच नाइस बेबी, आप तो हमेशा शेयर करते हो ना, आपको तो अच्छा लगता है ना शेयरिंग, आप तो कितने प्यारे बच्चे, पलसाटला सब दे देगा. सो फ्लैटरिंग करता भी है, फ्लैटरिंग चाहता भी है, उसको अप्रिसिएशन भी चाहिए, उसको लगता है कि वो अप्रिसिएटेड नहीं है. So it's in greed, cupidity. So Pulsatilla in disease is very anxious. It is in rubrics hypochondriasis, weeping with, or I think hypochondriasis क्या है? जब आप बहुत चिंता करते हो अपनी बीमारी का. hypochondriasis weeping with में Pulsatilla है. तो बहुत चिंता कर करके दे स्टार्ट क्राइंग, एंड डिलीरियम एंशियस में है, एंजाइटी ड्यूरिंग हीट एंड वीपिंग हीट ड्यूरिंग. अब हीट को भी आप डायरेक्ट फीवर भी ले सकते हो, और हीट को आप उसका मेटामॉर्फिकल मीनिंग भी ले सकते हो. मेटामॉर्फिकल इन द सेंस when there is an argument or fight in the house, it is a heated atmosphere, so we say there's a lot of heat, so वहाँ पे भी ले सकते हो, because the Pulsatilla is not very rough, so they don't like them, they start weeping. So weeping heat during, आप मेटामॉर्फिकल मीनिंग भी ले सकते हो. It is not that the Pulsatilla child will not get angry, but there is a very sweet rubric that I found today. I have never used it in Pulsatilla, but I'll share with you. Pulsatilla का जो anger है, वो anger comes suddenly, ceases suddenly. Normally हम belladonna सोचते हैं कि वो जल्दी होता है, पर belladonna नहीं है शायद उसमें, और anger comes suddenly, ceases suddenly में Pulsatilla है. एक rubric है, जैसे आप बच्चा है क्लिनिक पे और आप मदर बोलते हैं ना, the child doesn't want to answer. I told you so many rubrics of answering of Pulsatilla. और पेरेंट्स बोलते हैं बोलो ना बेटा, answer what doctor is saying. So anger when answer obliged to. Normally we think drugs like Nux vomica, Colosynth, कि आप उनको प्रेशराइज करें और चिढ़ जाएं, पर आप Pulsatilla भी चिढ़ सकता है क्योंकि वो उसके कंफर्ट जोन के बाहर है. बट आप Pulsatilla का अगर देखेंगे ना, वो चिढ़ भी गया, वो 2 सेकंड में नॉर्मल होकर मम्मी को हक कर रहा होगा, किस कर रहा होगा. इवन अडल्ट लेडी क्लिनिक पे रहती है, एंड किस कर रही होती हैं, बच्चों को प्यार कर रही होती है अननेसेसरली. सो दैट इज द हैबिट. सो दे कैन ऑल, व्हेन यू आर टेकिंग अ चाइल्ड केस, यू कैन अंडरस्टैंड द मदर ऑल्सो. So when they are sick, they lament a lot, lamenting fever during, lamenting sadness with, lamenting in the sense in one rubric I have explained the difference between complaining and lamenting. Lamenting is हमेशा गाना बीमारी का. Complain, you do it to an authority. For example, if there is something wrong in my society and I feel it is not right, probably I'll do a complaint to the manager of the society, or जो सोसाइटी इंचार्ज हैं, या फिर एक कंप्लेंट बॉक्स रहता है जहाँ पे आप अपनी कंप्लेंट डाल सकते हैं. पर लेमेंटिंग होता है रोना गाना, मतलब अपने जो डिसकंटेंटमेंट है या दुख, मेरे को तो बहुत ही दुख रहा, आप किसी के सामने भी रोना गा सकते हो. इट इज़ नॉट नेसेसरी कि आप जो वो रोना गाओ, वो एक कंप्लेन आप उनसे करते हो जहाँ से आपको सोल्यूशन मिल सकता है. और लेमेंट आप किसी के सामने भी कर सकते हो. घर में दूध वाला आया, उसको भी अपना दुखड़ा कुछ लोग सुना लेते हैं, या गेस्ट आया और मेरा तो आज बहुत ही दुखता ही रहता है, कुछ नहीं हो पा रहा है. व्हाई आर यू लेमेंटिंग इन फ्रंट ऑफ देम? Okay, I think we have covered a lot. I wanted to make 20 minutes, but it's already 38 minutes. Mourning बहुत है Pulsatilla में. What is mourning? कर्राना. This is mourning. So mourning fever during, mourning fever sleep during कर रहता है, क्योंकि उसको attention चाहिए, उसको प्यार चाहिए. Okay. Playing desire to play dolls with, I told you. Pulsatilla बच्चे प्यारी प्यारी चीज़ों के साथ खेलेंगे, जैसे गन, सोल्जर, मार धाड़. Pulsatilla बच्चे नहीं खेलते. दे आर वेरी स्वीट, हेल्पिंग मदर, बट उनके बिहाइंड वो, अगर आप प्लेइंग में भी देखें तो फ्लफी टॉय, स्टफ टॉय, डॉल्स, ऐसे पल्सैटिला, जो मार धाड़ गन लेके बच्चे आ रहे हैं वो यूजुअली पल्सैटिला नहीं होते. तो एवरीथिंग बच्चे लेकर आते हैं, सॉफ्ट टॉय और कभी डॉल कभी गन लेकर आ रहे होते हैं. सो यू कैन अंडरस्टैंड द मेंटालिटी ऑफ अ चाइल्ड फ्रॉम देयर ऑल्सो, व्हाट काइंड ऑफ गेम्स द चाइल्ड इज प्लेइंग. Okay. So I think I have covered maximum of Pulsatilla. Pulsatilla is very, very oftenly seen in our practice, and sometimes we all miss it. We still miss it in spite of knowing it so well. Even when I was preparing for this, I realized I didn't know so many of things of Pulsatilla. There are various groups in which cases were discussed, and one senior doctor had presented a case, and everybody thought that there's a lot of abuse and the husband is ill-treating the lady. And normally what we think, lady is still doing, for the husband, like husband torture करता है, ठीक से बात नहीं करता, abuse करता है physically, and still the lady is doing everything for the child. And so normally हम कौन सी remedies सोचते हैं? Ignitia, carcinosin, mildness bears the outrage without the complaining, even outrage without complaining, or carcinosin bears selflessness. But because I had studied Pulsatilla the very same day, so there is a rubric, discouraged submissiveness with Pulsatilla करती जाती है. So in those cases also where you normally think ignitia, carcinosin and drugs like that, you should think of Pulsatilla. Why is very important? Why the lady is still, being that docile? Pulsatilla is there in ailments from abused being, but we just tend to, क्या होता है, एक जैसे आई डिस्कस दैट एंगर ऑन आंसरिंग व्हेन ऑब्लाइज्ड टू, नॉर्मली फर्स्ट रेमेडी क्या आती है? नक्स वॉमिका चिढ़ जाता है, बहुत क्वेश्चन पूछो, इरिटेबिलिटी क्वेश्चन. सो वी हैव डेवलप्ड दोज फिक्स इमेजेस ऑफ ड्रग्स, एंड समटाइम्स एंगर, इरिटेबिलिटी या इन चीज के लिए हम पल्सैटिला नहीं सोचेंगे. बट डोंट मेक फिक्स्ड इमेजेस लाइक द वे आई डिस्कस कंपनी अवर्जन टू हीट ड्यूरिंग हैज पल्सैटिला एंड हैज ओनली 4 ड्रग्स. तो आपके पास कोई बच्चा ऐसा आएगा जो फीवर में है और उसको नहीं चाहिए कंपनी, आप तो पल्सैटिला कभी सोचोगे ही नहीं. आप क्या, हम भी नहीं सोचते. सो वी ऑलवेज डोंट जस्ट गिव ऑन फील. It should always go together, the totality and the remedy understanding. I will not say that you only give on feel, and I will not say that you only give on totality. So, and don't make fixed images कि Pulsatilla ऐसे ही होगा. Though image helps us, but don't get just fixed in that, because उसके बाहर भी है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल Pulsatilla में है squandering, boasting, हाँ, through ostentation, मतलब they wanted to show how much they have. Squandering मतलब खर्च करना. क्यों खर्च कर रहा हूँ? Because I'm boasting about what I have. So they can really, that way also Pulsatilla can be. And हर रोने वाला बच्चा Pulsatilla नहीं होता. Ignitia हो सकता है, Silesia हो सकता है, many other remedies. So don't make fixed images, but study. Each and every rubric is important. Why is very important in each remedy, and just don't get lost in these images also, though it helps us. But I always felt that material repertory is also equally important. वरना तो हम कॉमन रेमेडीज तो आनी ही चाहिए, जैसे Pulsatilla, लाइको, बराइटा का, जो हम पीडियाट्रिक प्रैक्टिस में यूज करते हैं. But and then once we understand the common, then probably we'll start with uncommon remedies like vanilla or falcon pea or salix fragilis, which we are not using very oftenly. Okay, I think it's almost 40 minutes. And difference between carcinosin and Pulsatilla, I think we have taken carcinosin earlier in these. You can probably go through that carcinosin video. If not, carcinosin की journey बहुत अलग है. Ailments from domination children in where there are strict parents. Carcinosin is in selflessness. Carcinosin का जो precocity of children में है, मतलब carcinosin का जब parents strict होंगे, Pulsatilla तो स्ट्रिक्टनेस रोने से ही करेगी, तो और कहेगी मेरे को प्यार से बोलो ना. पर जब कार्सिनोसिन के पेरेंट्स स्ट्रिक्ट होते हैं, तो हाउ द कार्सिनोसिन चाइल्ड डेवलप्स, द कार्सिनोसिन चाइल्ड बिकम्स प्रिकॉशियस, जल्दी मेच्योर हो जाता है, सब चीज़ें अच्छे से करने लगता है, हार्ड वर्किंग होता है, क्योंकि उसको वो पेरेंट्स का वो चाहिए कि हाँ भाई ठीक है, थिंग्स लाइक दैट. सो कार्सिनोसिन की जर्नी अलग है Pulsatilla से बहुत. Okay. So, and one more thing before I end this video, we had conducted a session of 50 important rubrics. There, that time there were 82 doctors, and we were not able to take more doctors, and lots of people requested me to take that session again. So I'm taking it again tomorrow, that is Saturday, 3 to 5 or 5:30 probably. Those who all want to register for that session of 50 important rubrics of pediatric practice, please contact me today by the end of the day. I will not take any entries tomorrow because it becomes very difficult. People are contacting you just 10 minutes before the session and they say, we have registered, can you add me? It becomes mismanaged. You can take it as fastidious also. So little organized, order, desire for. So everything the same way. Right? Yes, smile karegi. Smiling mein hai, and there is also one rubric, weeping with a smile. That to get that. So yes, so there are a lot of things more of Pulsatilla which we have not covered, but let's see how it goes. If you have any queries, you can ask me, and if you want to register for that session, please register it today by the end of the day. Thank you all. It was just a pleasure doing these videos because I am learning so much by going through these remedies again and again, and there is so much more that we are not still aware of. So probably by these learning things, we study these remedies again and we slightly get overconfident that we know Pulsatilla, but when you actually read, you understand there's so much more that we don't know about Pulsatilla. Thank you.